I don't think it's like officially designated or anything, but the hamburger is pretty much the national dish of the United States, right? You with me on that? I mean, hamburgers are everywhere. You can get a hamburger at countless drive-thrus. You can get a hamburger at a fancy restaurant. You can get a hamburger at a gas station. Pretty much every gas station. You can probably get a hamburger at a funeral parlor if you ask the right guy. Now picture how iconic and like interwoven the hamburger is into the fabric of the United States. Think about that, right? Now imagine that ubiquity is ramped up like 100 times, like 100 times. That's what sardines are in Portugal. Look, I know it seems weird, like a lot of Americans actively dislike sardines. So much so that the last sardine cannery in the US, it was in Maine, closed in 2010. In truth though, sardines are evidently very healthy and were proclaimed one of the world's least heralded superfoods by nutritionists. Sardines, however, are often served whole, and Americans do not like their food staring back at them. And then, of course, you've got generations of American kids who are conditioned to hate sardines by the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But in Portugal, sardines are like hamburgers, pizza, and French fries combined. It is a big deal. In June, when the Portuguese have their Saints festivals, 13 sardines are eaten every second. Here, fishy, 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 fishy. But it's not just at festival time. Like hamburgers here, sardines are eaten all the time. They're on every restaurant menu. It's just the way it is. I don't know everything, but I do know this. The more you try to fit in, the more your customers tune out. And this week on the Talk Triggers show, I'll tell you about a restaurant in Lisbon, Portugal that dares to be different. There are 3,998 restaurants in Lisbon, according to TripAdvisor. That is a lot of restaurant competition. And while, of course, there's restaurants that make Italian and Greek and Chinese, most restaurants in Lisbon serve Portuguese food. It's not like New York City, where every conceivable cuisine is all around you, and frankly, probably American restaurants are the mathematical minority. In Lisbon, most of the restaurants have, pretty similar menus, a twist here, a twist there. And the food is pretty great everywhere, and it's relatively inexpensive, at least by American standards, and all the buildings in Lisbon are really quaint and interesting and fantastic. Put it this way, finding a good restaurant in Lisbon is about as difficult as finding a reason to be annoyed by Jenny McCarthy. Luisa Torres Branco and chef Ivan Fernandez own a restaurant together in Lisbon, and their problem was simple, yet thorny. How do you stand out in a sea of sameness? Similar location, similar architecture, similar price, similar menu. They solved it by understanding that same as lame. And today, their restaurant is ranked number 39 out of all the restaurants on TripAdvisor, and they have 2,380 reviews, which is a very high volume for a single location restaurant in Lisbon. So what is it? What is the talk trigger for Luisa and Ivan that propels their place to the very top of a highly crowded restaurant scene? Well, they're talkably generous, but with a very sly wink. Now, you remember I told you that every restaurant has sardines, right? Like everybody has sardines. Luisa and Ivan do not. Ivan is an artist. He believes that the sardine thing is totally played out. The tiny fish are so widespread that they have no business being on a restaurant menu. It's uninteresting, it's trite. So he refused to put them on the menu. But after they opened the restaurant, sardine-free, customers kept asking them, can we please have sardines? Where are your sardines? They just couldn't believe that a restaurant in Lisbon, Portugal would not have sardines. Chef Ivan held firm, however. He's like a Mediterranean soup Nazi from Seinfeld. He's like, no sardines! No sardines for you! At least, not on the menu. Today, the word of mouth secret for Louisa and Ivan's place works like this. Every guest, as they leave this excellent restaurant, are given a small gift. It's wrapped in the pages of local magazines, and inside that wrapping is a can of sardines. So you don't even have to order the sardines at their restaurant. Everybody gets them automatically on the way out the door. Diners at the restaurant notice this little gift and they talk about it everywhere. Here's a review on TripAdvisor from Joseph S. from Boston, who got the sardines, noticed it, wrote the review. Here's what he said. We walked over from Lapa 82, just a few blocks, and had one of the best meals ever. Codfish and octopus were wonderful, and the dessert, a mixture of sweets, was sinful. The owner, Louisa, and the staff were very friendly and accommodating. As a bonus, they gave us a can of sardines when we left. Remember, my friends, competency doesn't create conversations. I don't know everything, but I do know this. Yeah, you need to have good food. You have to have good ambiance. You got to have good service if you're running a restaurant. But guess what? Your competitors have those very same things. So if you want your customers to talk about you, and you do, give them something they do not expect. Something like free sardines at Club de Jornalistas, which means the press club, in Lisbon, Portugal. Next week here on the Talk Triggers show, you'll meet, oh boy, a rock and roll and funk band that wraps up their word-of-mouth strategy in a hilariously spooky way. You'll look forward to that one. It's going to be good. To never miss an episode, subscribe now on YouTube. You can go to talktriggersshow.com to do so. You can also get this show as a podcast. Just go to wherever you get your audio, search Talk Triggers Show, and you'll find it. I'm Baer. See you next week.